What is going on, everybody? My name is Tanner Shanalter, and welcome back to SNO-FLO Films for the episode 9 of the Dmax Squarebody build. It has been a while since I've worked or filmed on this truck. Last time you guys saw the video, it was running. I had just gotten it started, and that was in February. It is now November, so yeah, it's been a while. But I've got some new stuff up and coming on the truck. I've been working on it here and there, and I've got some stuff to show you guys. But basically, we just need to get back up and going and hauling ass on this project because I want to start driving it here pretty damn soon. So I'll show you guys around. So first things first, it still runs. I haven't pulled the dash back out of it. It's just a pain to hook up and unhook the battery, so I just move it around with the tractor most of the time. But what have I done since last time you guys saw? So I have filled in this bottom plate. That was a pain. I haven't done the sides yet, just haven't gotten to it. But if you notice, the body lines with the bed and the cab match up now. I will go to and do some explaining. Okay, so you guys won't be able to see much, but I cut all the frame rails on the bed down and I welded in this piece of 2x4 C channel in there, and it sits perfectly on that front mount and this rear mount. It's actually got a gap here, but it's just, if you put any weight on it, it goes back down. But I need to drill holes up and through all the way to the top side of the bed so that we can bolt that down, because I haven't done that yet. So because I'm stupid and don't work on my truck out in the sun when it's summer, it is now winter again, and to do the bottom of the bed stuff that I need to do, just the last couple of things, I got to pick it up in the air with the tractor, which means I got to be outside, which means cold, and yeah, I'm not quite ready for that, but I will probably get to that tomorrow. What I am going to be doing in this video, though, A, finishing up the bed, bolting it down so it's secured on the frame. B, I want to get the fenders, the front fenders, back up here and start building my inner fenders and building all my mounts for my lines, my battery boxes, and figuring out my fuse box situation, because that looks nasty. Another thing I need to do, this whole front core support moves, and I don't want to rely on only the fender to hold that up, so I might do some cool X bracing or something that weld into the firewall up there and then bolt up here to hold it out, because if you see right now, it actually touches that pulley right there. So what else do I want to do? I think the last thing I'm going to be trying to tackle for this video is the windshield wipers. So I have done a ton of thinking and looking around to see what other people have done, and I think I am pretty much left with two options. So here is kind of my plan for option A. I'm going to have the wiper motor hooked up to a small bike sprocket and have the exact same size sprocket. Option B, which I really don't want to have to do, but the sound of chains rattling around inside my dash doesn't also sound like that great of a thing. Well, the first gen Broncos, they have a big old box up here that runs along the top of the windshield, and they have the motor and the arms run up here, and the wipers come from the top down. I think I might be able to make something that hides it a little bit better than the big bulky box that's in the first gen Bronco, but that's not that bad of an idea. The only issue is with that big of a motor, you only got an inch here, so you're adding an extra 2 inches. So the box is going to be decently big. And then you got to reroute all your wiring, which is this guy right here. I'd have to run this through the A-pillar. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So I know I've only picked those 3 things for this video, but there's plenty of work to do with all 3 of them. The wipers have been kicking my butt for a year now trying to figure them out, and they probably still will, and the chances are they won't even make it into this video. But I want to get the fenders done, and the bed has to be done. I need to get those 2 done and dusted. If you guys noticed, I've been talking about undercoating the frame and the cab and the bottom of the bed for a while now, and I haven't done it. And every time I think I'm ready for undercoating, I remember that there's more metal work to do, and I don't want to start undercoating until everything is done with metal work. But the biggest thing so far was because all of this, I decided I'm going to use all my undercoating on this as well because it's a high heat too. I'm pretty sure it is anyways. But I want to coat all these welds and everything in undercoating rather than just normal paint, so that if it ever gets chipped up, it's not both noticeable and doesn't rust. So I'll put that line right here where it goes from the normal body paint to the undercoating. But that means that all the metal work on the cab needs to be finished before I undercoat. So yeah, so enough talking, let's just jump into some work and time lapses and welding and grinding and yay, let's go. Alrighty guys, I've been working on the truck a little bit and I've been trying to beat the daylight. But I want to show you what I had to do. So all these cross members, I had to cut them down to about half the size and replate them in. These guys, when I got this bed, this was already cut out. I think they did a body drop on the truck it was on or something. So my mounts, what I did is I had this piece of 2x4 C-channel. I had a bunch of that was scrap. So I cut that up and welded it to this beam and that beam. And then I just drilled the holes to match the factory body mounts on the frame. And then back here, I just drilled into this guy right here. It's not, I don't think it's gonna match up with this one. I didn't even know these holes are here, but I'm just gonna drill a new hole in the frame. The whole way I'm building this truck, I wanna build it in the way that if I ever got T-boned or rolled it and the frame was still good, I could swap a cat-eye body right back onto the frame without having to remod anything. So yeah, I wanted to use all the factory locations. So that's what I've done there. I'm gonna drop it back on the frame, try to finish out getting everything bolted in and bolted together, and then we'll start working on something. Alrighty guys, I've got that bolt in, and this one, and that one. As you can see, I haven't tightened them down yet, but they're in the mounts. There you go. I haven't done these back two ones yet. And by the way, I think I'm only gonna do 6 mounting locations instead of 8 like the original bed, just for ease. But the reason I haven't done it, let me get you guys flying. Okay, you can see right there, I have the hole drilled in this for the mount, but there's a gap in between this and the frame, and that is because the bed is resting farther back, and I just haven't got to cutting that down to see where this actually sits. I think I'm gonna have to make a spacer though, because the body lines are pretty close, but I don't want to make my spacer and bolt the backside down yet, because the only thing I have to go off for body line are the 2 rear doors, and I have zero faith that those are actually square, because those doors are garbage. So I don't want to do these back mounts until I get my front doors and my front fenders on, and that way I can look all the way down the body line from the front to the back and see if the back of the bed needs to go up or down to match that line. So yeah, another thing I am going to have to do at some point, because that C-channel underneath this bed is got a gap that big in between this skin and the actual C-channel itself, I want to take this top and cut out a bigger hole and take a section of smaller pipe like this, smaller diameter, something that bolt just slips through, and then weld that into the top skin up here so that it has something to push against. Because right now, if I were to tighten these bolts, it would just suck that skin down into that C-channel, I think. I'm not positive about that. It'd probably be strong enough, but I just want to be extra safe with that. That, however, is going to have to come at a different time, because that sounds like a pain in the ass to you. Alrighty, I think it is time that I go grab my front fenders and mount them up, and let's start looking at what I need to do up front. Okay, so I got the front fender on. It's it needs shimmed really bad, but the body lines so far seem like they line up pretty good. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but it almost looks like the ass end of the bed needs to come up just a tiny bit, which isn't the way I wanted it to go, but that's fine. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about. Okay, so I like the look of the height of the truck where it is right now. These are 37s, and I really love this look of the big meaty tire without a super high lifted truck, because I don't like when they're look like they're just going to tip over while being parked. I don't know. But the thing is, the rear end is stock height, and the front end has leveling lift keys, and they are just absolutely maxed out. The pinion angles for the front axles are just disgusting. The whole front end of this truck needs replaced anyways, so I think I am going to get a 6-inch lift, suspension lift, and drop the front end after I put the 6-inch lift on. Drop the front end just with the keys down to about 4 inches of lift, and then take my blocks to a machine shop and shave off however I need to match the rear. So the goal would be to have the front fender about maybe 1.5 inches higher than it is right now, and then the rear fender, or the bed, matching the exact same gap that this will be. Okay, I'm not worried about any of this bottom half. This is all gonna get covered by a custom bumper. I'll build one at some point. What I am looking at though is battery boxes and coolant location and all that kind of stuff. As you can see with these fenders, we got a ton of room in here. When I got rid of my stock fenders on this blue truck, they were all rusted out. When I got rid of them, I got rid of the inner fenders that were on them too, because they were garbage and the bolts were all rusted and I couldn't even get them off. But when I got these fenders, they didn't come with any. But I figured anyways that the steel inner fenders wouldn't fit. But now that I'm looking at it, I think they might have. And it would have been nice to start with a steel piece so that I can weld tabs to it and battery boxes and everything. Because the inner fenders from the Dmax, I have them, but they're just plastic. Let me see if I can find them. Okay, so I found one. The other one's right in there somewhere. But I don't think there's any way I'm gonna be able to make these guys work. Nor do I even want to try. The fender on these square bodies sticks out way farther than the original Dmax. Just for reference, these wheels are a 20x12 with a -44mm offset. And this is a 13.5-inch wide tire. And it barely even sticks out of the fender. I will show you a picture of one of my old trucks that had close to the same setup, and I'll show you how far it was sticking out of the fender on that. So because of that, this guy doesn't stick in far enough, and if I were to try to mount it up to this fender, it would literally rub the inside of the tire pretty much because of how far out that inner fender would be. So that's not gonna work. I think my goal is to keep an eye out for some inner fenders, see if I can pick some up cheap. They're probably all over Marketplace. So I need to get a set of cheap ones of those, and I'll mount them up to the fender, try to mount the fender up, and I'll just cut away whatever doesn't fit. Yeehaw, cowboy! Let's go for a rippy out into the field. Hey guys, so it's been a real long time since the last time I have taken video of this thing, working on it. I didn't get to work on it all winter because the shop was plugged up and I didn't want to do it outside. So it's summer and I'm working on it again. I've been working on it for a little while without taking video, so I just kind of want to show you guys what I've been doing on the front end of this thing, because I don't know if you've seen any of that or not. So this obviously is the core support of the Dmax, and what I needed to do was get my old hood latch up here so that it would latch to the old hood. What I did, because if you bolted this up, by the way, this is the top piece off of the core support of the Squarebody, and that entire thing just unbolts from it, so it didn't have to do any cutting. But if you bolted this in to the sides of the fender right there and right there where it bolts in from the factory, the hood latch would hit this guy, and this back here, you can see I made a cut all the way across there because that was also hitting this up here. So what I've done is, this was a brace that went out to this piece that went up and around. I'll see if I got a picture of a Dmax. I'll put it in right here so you know what it's like. And so I cut this right here,
built this middle bracket. It bolts in right here. It's all braced up and around. This is the same shape as the bottom side of this, so it fits in there really well. And those two brackets, I made those, put riv nuts in here. They bolt in here and here, bolt to the sides of the fender, and then 2 bolts right here and here. And now I got a hood latch. So I'll bolt this up for you guys and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I have this front piece bolted up, and with this bracing under here, you can see it hides it real nice. You can't even tell it's there. Got my hood latch here, and oh, I don't have those 2 bolts in right there. But when I bolt those in, let's just see if I push down on it. It doesn't move at all. So this is really sturdy right now. It will support the hood, no problem. You know what? Now that I think about it, the last time I left you guys off, I think I was talking about fender wells, which I have now. So I went and bought some fender wells, and I had to cut them up a lot and whack them with a hammer a lot to get them to fit in here, but they do fit now. So now I still gotta mount this, but I've got a fender well over here, and over here I got my fuse box put back together, and this actually sits just about perfect right on the fender well right there. So I'll probably just make a mount right through the fender well for that. Still got to build a battery box here and here, and I'm gonna tie in these fenders using that hole, and then these 2, and I'm gonna build a brace that goes over, just for extra support from the fender to the core support. But one thing I'm trying to do here, there's a lot of weird brackets in here and everything looks kind of but what I'm trying to do is utilize as many stock holes as I can so that I can use all this old hardware. So these are all the old 1/2-inch bolts that came out of the Squarebody, and so I used riv nuts with the same threads, trying to use all the stock fender locations, everything. But yeah, because hardware's expensive apparently.